Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680.
Welcome back to Injustice on the Sphere TV, where we discuss the laws of the land and how they affect you, the people. I'm your host, Brennan Dunn. You can reach me on Twitter at LegalMind. That's mine with a Y, because there's always a question to be asked and answered. Joined back again with the wonderful Alicia Ford. I was out last week, Alicia, and I missed you.
Thanks, Brennan. Welcome back, everyone, to Injustice on the Sphere TV. My name is Alicia Ford, and I am your co-host here. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AllieOnSphere. Now that Brennan's back, my life has just gotten measurably worse. But thank you. Thank you. What are we talking about today?
I feel like that's how you tell me you love me.
Oh, gosh.
So I'll accept that with all the love that you're due and say, I'll say Trump.
Ooh.
Yes. Trump has suggested just recently that financing historically black colleges and universities may be unconstitutional.
Of course
and he's
it
going to
is.
have to take a look at if he's going to fund the $1.1 trillion omnibus general spending that the government is getting ready to allocate, and see if the HBCU capital financing program is going to be included in that, which... This particular financing program, as an example of provisions in the funding bill that allocate benefits on the basis of race, ethnicity, and gender. Now, what kills me is that his administration says that he wants to make sure that they're funding programs in a manner consistent with the requirements that afford equal protection of the law under the Due Process Clause of the Constitution's Fifth Amendment, basically saying that, hey, if we're allocating funds to this specific program dealing with HBCUs, then it's not equal funding for all, because it's going to a specific program that's predicated on race, on a race basis. I think this is poppycock and horseshit.
Why doesn't he just overturn the amendments allowing us to vote then, too?
Well,
I
the
mean,
problem
I
is
just don't understand.
You have at least the last, 3 presidents that have gone through and put the check plus on this program. Surely, through the last 3 presidents, through the last couple of decades, surely somebody would have said, you know what? This is an illegal program that should have never been started to begin with. No. It takes the Make America Great Again campaign. It takes the white nationalist movement. It takes the neo-Nazi platform to say that something that benefits the minorities who already get a smidgen of the portion of the piece of the pie, that, you know what, we may be doing something that's not right for the country because we're doing something that's good for you. And I think that that's a problem, because it doesn't look at the bigger picture. The whole point of this, to me, it falls under the equal protection because it's protecting a portion that does not get the amount of funding that the predominantly white schools get. So
you mean every other college and university
right,
that exists in the United
it actually
States
supports this equal protections clause the same way that you had certain schools that you said, you know what, if you're going to what was that, separate but equal type thing, if you're going to
we saw how well that worked.
Well, if you're going to give these people a separate institution, you have to at least give them the appropriate funding and the appropriate money to do so. I don't see that being any different from this particular program. No one ever said separate but equal was illegal. They said it was wrong, and they said it didn't work properly in the segregation, so to speak. In this particular instance, there's nothing wrong with making sure that the minority is put on a platform that's going to equal the playing field for every other college institution that's out there.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, let's just be honest. Separate but equal, in theory, could work if minorities had the same access to wealth that white Americans had, so that we can bring in the same income to pay the same property taxes that would fund our schools, because we have that same amount of money to give. We don't. Minorities tend to be in poor and impoverished neighborhoods, which means less dollars go to their schools, which means that there's less education. So of course separate but equal was never going to work, and they knew that. But I mean, that's what it is. I just really think that Trump believes that Obama started this. And I think he just thinks, I think Trump hears black people, Mexican, Hispanic, Latino, anybody that's a minority that is not Eastern European and Western European, you don't belong here. That's really, I mean, at the end of the day, that is what making America, what America great again is. It's about saying that our immigration based, because we knew that, you know, early 20th century, immigration was preference towards Eastern Europeans and Western Europeans, because that's who they wanted the population to fill up with America. But in regards to this specifically, you're right. It does. I mean, HBCUs are there for a purpose. It's not a historically black college and university because we were able to get into the predominantly white universities. It's a historically black college and universities because they kept us out of the universities, and they didn't want to say that we're depriving our citizens the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, one of which is having an education. And so here we are today, and here we are with Trump again, and he's just, I give up.
Well,
I just give up with him.
This comes at the same time that the president recently, within the last couple of months, decided not to meet with the NAACP. He decided to put his, I don't even know what her title is. It's so convoluted, but his director of communications to the public liaison for the African American community, Omarosa. He put her on the no-fly list, banning, or let me not say he specifically, but his chief of staff, John Kelly, put her on the no-fly list for access to him. All the black people, I think, who's left? Ben Carson? All the black people are slowly but surely being siphoned away from any real meaningful contact with the president of the United States.
I think you were kind of stretching to even think Omarosa was even working in our best interest.
I disagree with that. That's a conversation for another.
Riveting content.
Omarosa hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to suggest that she's not working in our favor.
She hasn't
other than
done
having a relationship
anything.
with Trump. Well, what can anybody do?
Well,
with Trump?
What does she need access for then?
What do you know that she's done that hasn't been for us?
What do you know that she's done that has been for us?
But I'm not going against her.
But she's
putting somebody in the negative light that has yet to show you. She's the one that
sits there and was all the well, first of all, if you're going to support a candidate who says what's the worst that's going to happen or what you got to lose, dude, are you serious? I have what do I have to lose? I have HBCU funding to lose. Hello? That's what I have to lose. I have to lose the fact that you're not even taking into account that we are citizens that have certain rights under this Constitution and under the laws of America to have equal access to something. That's what I have to lose. So she's supporting this man who we just talked about the story who says he wants to pull funding. That's what you have to lose.
So do you think that any black person that goes in the Trump administration should be ostracized and demonized simply
No.
because we have to have representation
No. I don't think
I
they
think
should.
she was right when
I
she
don't
said
think
that.
that she should be demonized and ostracized. I don't think that if she were truly having the access to him that she says to him, then she would have helped him craft his words to speak to the American population, because you're his ethnic minority chair or whatever it is. So
do you
can't-
realize who
can't-
you're talking about? Who are we? We're talking about Donald J.
Well,
Trump.
my thing about
who
but
tells
even-
Donald what to do?
Even still, and even better, that you could have used some. I just don't.
What do you mean? You're saying that she should have
But
done.
guess what?
She
this
should
is-
have told him
guess-
what to do.
guess-
but no
guess
one
what-
gets to tell him what to do.
Guess what this is not about? Omarosa.
I agree. That's why I said
And
this
then,
isn't about her.
so then let's just leave her where she lay.
All right,
and move on.
You're not gonna talk about my strong black women and get away with it. So anyway,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I said
Why,
it. I'll
just,
say
you
it
know,
again.
okay.
My black sisters out
Okay.
there, don't let this high yellow heathen do anything to y'all. But anyway,
What did
Trump. We're gonna keep
this
on
is
Trump.
how we keep
Well, welcome
this
back,
going.
Cotter. Welcome
Oh
back,
my
Brennan.
gosh.
The Trump administration has decided to back the baker who refused to make gay wedding cakes, essentially saying that homosexual, you don't have to cater to the homosexuals in the gay community if you feel like it's wrong or if it's against your religious preference to do so. This is going up to the Supreme Court to see if private institutions have the right to discriminate against other private citizens from a business standpoint based on their sexual orientation. It's an interesting one, and the Trump administration is saying, hey, yeah, go ahead and let them discriminate. And I don't, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back with this Trump administration. Every time you think he might be doing something, and every now and then he gets something accidentally right, but even a broke clock is right twice a day. This is one of those times out of the 24-hour period that he's wrong. So there's 22 out of 24 hours that he's wrong, and this is one of those times, in my opinion.
He's just saying let them eat cake somewhere else.
Let
That's
them.
just
All right, Amber.
It's just I guess that's just really what it is. I mean, unfortunately, it's I laugh because, you cannot think that this man was not going to try to erode every single progressive right that's out there. No matter how well established, no matter how far back it goes, if it goes against a certain principle or a certain thought of what America should be, it is probably going to be attacked in this administration. And so I can't say that I am surprised. I am sorry for look, this is how I feel. And as a Christian myself, if I were that baker, I'm sorry, your money is green and your cake will be ready tomorrow. Like, I don't care. It does not infringe so much on my beliefs that I will sit there and I just am so against this that I'm not going to bake you a cake. I am going to bake you a cake because I'm in business to bake cakes. That's where they should be, instead of sitting there trying to impose their morality on somebody who wants to who wants to buy a cake.
Well, let's talk about it from a legal perspective. Do you think that a private business that's not government funded or subsidized should have the right to exercise their freedom of religion or freedom of speech?
No, absolutely. That's the point of being a private. I'm not saying that what they did was legally wrong or right. I'm just saying that from a just outside.
So then you would be on the side of on the Trump administration side. Essentially, that's saying that you're backing what they did, which is what the Trump administration is doing.
So what I'm saying is that basically that as a private citizen, you have the right to support. But if it goes to the point where you are discriminating against somebody based on race, sex, religion, color, then you do have to rethink it. But at the same, it's a real funny pill to swallow.
But those are public entities that aren't allowed to discriminate. Privatized citizens.
So how are we?
Companies.
So then, Brendan, how do we stop them from doing that?
Well, that's the question. Do you think that legally it should?
Well, no, I'm asking
should
you
we
to
extend it?
please.
No, you can't ask me
Yeah,
especially after I ask you a question. Now, come on, now. What we're not gonna do?
Why are we clapping hands here?
But no, what I'm so do you think that anti-discrimination clause should extend to private citizens,
It depends on the circumstances.
such
As if you are in the business of commerce, which you would have to pay taxes. I mean, there's a way to find a way around everything. I mean, if you have to sit there and you have to end up, you're making money and then somehow that money is trickling back into our commerce, and we believe that, I mean, they use anything to connect it to money. So if the government can say, hey, this is going to affect it in some way, why not?
I think when the to answer my own question, I think the answer should be yes. It should extend to private citizens, in as much as when you talk about the purpose of legislation, it's supposed to be what protects the majority of the people, and it's supposed to protect the best interest of the nation and what the nation stands for. In layman's terms, of when you talk about constitutional law, we can get into the jargon, but we don't need that for now. But when you're talking about what's in the best interest of the country, and when you're trying to move it forward from a post-racial or move it forward into a post-racial society, which every decade we try to move a little bit farther, it doesn't seem like it while you're in the throes of it. But when you look at the 50s and versus
I just
now,
believe in
we see a
certain
different thing.
circumstances, it's right.
I think that right now we should extend it to the privatized citizen, because if not somebody telling you to do it right, you'll never do it right, and I don't think that if you're trying to become a better country, that you can continue to allow businesses, at the very least, what you do on your own personal time, as long as it doesn't infringe upon the health, well-being, and safety of another person. If you're a business that gets afforded the right to be a part of this country and work and operate as a business, because to me that's a privilege and not necessarily a right, you should be beholden to making sure that any patron that comes into your business gets afforded the same protection that they would in any other business.
But I do believe that businesses do have to run by certain standards anyway. So the EEOC makes sure of that. I mean, and this is just something that I think that I just don't have anything good to say about anything that has to deal with anything that deals with Donald Trump. Like, I don't have anything good to say. I don't really have anything to add to that, because it's like, we're going to beat a dead horse. Like, everything basically that he's doing is hindering our country at this point. And it's not, like I said, I don't know where I don't understand the vision of a great America. And I think that's my problem. So I'm not understanding exactly what his repealing, what his instituting, and all the things that he's doing. What vision of our country are we trying to achieve? Because he has not articulated that to us.
Yes, he has. It's antebellum South America.
And so I just kind of, I at least, because make America great to me is articulate what is a great America? What is this great society that you're making?
Well, it's that last word that throws you off, that again.
I mean,
that's the word that throws us off.
And so again could be, well, you're right. But we're a fledgling country. So, I mean, we were never going to get it right all the way. I mean, so it's kind of like every country has their social ills, not saying like not downplaying anything, but I just don't understand his vision for America. And maybe that's because I'm not part of, who he's talking to.
Once you become a white nationalist, I think it'll make it a little bit more
clear.
Who
says I'm not already? But this portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33%, or more than 77 million of Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let the Houston Housewives of Finance advise you in increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. That was 1-844-700-4463, or email them at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services.
All right now. And I just want to make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you know that if you go on Facebook Live, we ask that you subscribe to the show on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review the show on iTunes with constructive feedback, and share the Facebook Live posts and the entire show with your friends and family. Make sure if you want to give us some coinage to donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week, you can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. Some more news that's starting to boggle my mind. The Federal Appeals Court rules that a prayer at a Michigan County public meeting was constitutional. In a 9-6 decision, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit acknowledged that legislative prayer is part of traditions of the country and stated that the plaintiff had not met their burden of proof to succeed in a First Amendment claim. Saying that they largely rejected the plaintiff's argument and said that although he showed that he was offended by the Christian nature of the prayer, the offense did not equate to coercion, meaning he wasn't forced to do something. I don't know where being forced
where you have to where force
is
meaning
the litmus test
is for
force versus coercion, versus offense. So I don't see, and to me, if you're willing to take prayer out of, and all I'm asking for is for them to be consistent. If you're going to say, you know what, we're going to take prayer out of schools because it's offensive and it's exclusionary to non-Christian people, how then can you go back and say, well, but this is a long-held tradition over here in our country to pray, so we're going to keep this as it stands right now. But all these kids up here praying, that's a little bit too much.
I just don't see how that encourages freedom of religion. And I mean, it's the part of it is you don't have all these separation of church and state arguments for no reason. You know, like why are we? I don't even understand why they had the audacity to say that he wasn't offended enough because he wasn't coerced. Well, then if they'd like to take the first 30 minutes of every meeting to pray to every God that is possible in every religion, then so be it. But until you uniformly allow whomever to pray to whomever they believe to, and publicly at the meeting out loud so that person can also join in prayer, then that's a problem. And so then you don't need to mix that up and say, hey, you know what? This is a Christian state. This is a Christian country. You should know. No. Sure, are there some principles that this country was founded upon? But our founding fathers also said, great, that's wonderful, but we understand that there needs to be a separation, because why did a lot of people come here to escape religious persecution? So it's kind of like you can't really say
we have a hypocritical legislative body that enacts and creates laws, because, and what I mean by that is, like you said, we have this separation of church and state that's written into the Constitution. However, from the thought process of who should be president to which laws
that man don't even know how to pray,
to which laws we should enact, we see each and every time that the overarching reasoning behind certain laws and certain lobbying of laws is predicated on a religious belief system, saying that, well, think about eugenics, which is assisted suicide, to bioengineering, where we say, well, cloning, well, that goes against the principles of God. God didn't mean for us to be able to create other things. All of those are religious
God didn't mean
arguments
for a lot to happen.
Well, we don't know what God meant for us to do, because God hasn't sat up here, walked around to you and said that. We can say, well, the Bible says this, but that's a whole other argument. But each one of these pivotal subject matter that we legislate out is predicated on a religious belief and not necessarily a practical analysis of the effects that it has on the country itself. We say, well, we shouldn't do it because God doesn't want us to do it. So the lobbyists come in and spend billions of dollars to get legislators to say, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this. We're going to vote this way. And I think that when you talk about Christianity or Buddhism, the Muslim faith, anything, you can't cherry pick which laws you want to accentuate based on religious
Yeah.
freedom, and which laws you want to say, you know what, no, this is a God-fearing nation that we have. It can't be both ways.
Well,
in
that's
my
what I'm
opinion.
saying. Like, unless they want to sit there and take 30 minutes to pray to every single religion's God that's out there, I mean, then who could possibly, be there that day?
Yeah.
Then that's what they would have to do. But I mean, this is ridiculous. And to sit there and say that he was not coerced to pray along, but I'm offended because I'm having to be subject to something that I don't believe in, and that I'm being forced to be in its presence in the middle of in the middle of a government meeting. So, which it clearly says there are principles that clearly say separation of church and state. So I can understand where the man is confused. I can't understand how the court came to this decision, other than, like you said, the people that elected them, they want to keep them happy, and by keeping them happy is to throw out cases like this, because I'm sure it would. And I think it runs on the heels of all the statues being taken down. And then, they're taking down the statues. Now they want to take away this prayer. And so people are worried about the perception of what their voters are going to say. Man, sometimes just do the right thing.
And I wonder, do you really think if we actually took religion out of the conversation as it pertains to politics, would America really just go to hell, and would we become a nation of heathens?
No.
You know what I'm saying? So why is it so hard to
No.
separate those two when you're doing the discussion? But another discussion for another
Because
time.
I think part of that is predicated on the belief that Christianity imposes morality, and that without that we are a lawless, immoral people. And so
I'll take you one step further. Christianity, as it plays out in America, shows the hubris of Americans to say that Americans we think that we are the best, we are the greatest throughout the world. We take that same concept and apply it to the Christian faith and say, well, of course, Christianity has to be the best, it has to be the most right, it has to do this, that, and the other. So if you're not adhering to our Christian beliefs in our American country, then you're not an American. That's why you have so many people looking at Muslims in America saying, well, you're not really one of us because you don't follow
the
every
same
step
faith
that we do, and we being a loose term.
and so to me that's problematic, because that doesn't take into account an American who's an atheist, who doesn't subscribe to any religion,
because the majority of Americans in our country, by and large, are white Americans, and most of these white Americans come from a Christian-based background. Does that mean that they are
I just
really
think
good
we need
Christians?
to stop
No,
putting.
but we like to use religion without the actual.
They
practice.
need to just stop putting this more. I mean, they need to stop implicating that Christianity implies morality, as if you were to strip me of my Christianity, you are then in essence saying that I would no longer be doing things right, because then I would have no guide of morality, not to be able to say that I know that something is right or wrong just based on interaction with humans.
I mean, the best question to ask, I think, would be, if God wasn't watching us, would you still be a good person? But
yes, I would.
This portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Speaking of people who need a little bit of prayer, a Maryland judge orders an ethics investigation of Hillary Clinton lawyers over her deleted emails. Yes, ladies and
This is
gentlemen,
like the song that never ends.
the woman who is not your president, the woman who is just a regular citizen just like you, is still going through the ringer with the Trump administration, and having now by proxy her lawyers being investigated for deleting emails leading up to the presidential election of 2016.
He obviously read her new book and just got mad. Like, that's really obviously what he just got mad that she had the audacity to even write a book talking about it, talking about the great and patriarchal Mr. Trump, and he just decided, well, I'm gonna stir the pot up a little bit since she want to stir the pot. I mean, that's the only thing that I could think of. If they're saying that it has been shown that if the state bar of that state was like, what are you doing? If the attorney that's in charge of the grievance board was like, nah, this ain't a good look, but the judge is still saying, well, you know what, I feel like there's something going on. And they said the lawyer who is filing the claims has been found baseless because he has no personal knowledge of their involvement. Dude, like, how much more do you need before we really see what you're doing, which is you're being vindictive?
Can we get Hillary's name out of our mouths? I mean,
for real, she's
at
not president. Like, just leave her alone.
She's done enough. She's gone through enough. I'm not a big Hillary fan, but
I mean, I'm not. I don't feel sorry for her, but I'm just like, dude, chill out.
Why
like,
are we
stop.
bringing relevance to the irrelevant at this point?
It's just like, if she want to write her book and blame whomever and talk about who didn't do what and how she, whatever, that's cool. You know what? Let you write your book, make 10 more million, girl, and go live your life. But to bring the lawyers in that have absolutely really nothing to do with it is just ridiculous. Like, they just need to stop and leave her, just leave her alone.
Well, and
she's the horse been dead. They revived
what I think this portends is, anytime Trump tries to parlay some news against Hillary or against somebody else, it usually portends that he's got some other shit going on that he doesn't want us. Look at this over here while all of this is going on back there. And I think that he's showing you something, so you aren't paying attention to something else right now. So I'm waiting to see what else he has up his sleeve that we are being shade treed on. I
mean, okay, the fact that he's president is shade tree enough. Like, I don't think anything worse. Well, worse can happen. But I mean, I think it's like watching a car accident, this presidency. You just can't stop looking. You should, but you're just like, dang, ooh, that's pretty bad. And you just can't help but cringe every time you see another part, like, ooh, is somebody in the car? Oh, that's an ambulance. So it's a whole wreck of a country right now. And the people are really excited about it, which baffles me. People are very excited about it. So,
well, we see the effects of Trumpism every day, and one of those effects is in our Supreme Court with putting Neil Gorsuch onto the Supreme Court. That made sure to put the Supreme Court in a more conservative light, and that has reared its ugly head in the U.S. Supreme Court decision that just recently came down Tuesday evenings, which stayed a federal court decision requiring the redrawing of some congressional and state electoral districts in Texas because of racial gerrymandering. In essence, there was a push and there was an order to have Texas redraw some districts because they felt like the way they were set up, there was racial bias in the drawing of those particular districts. And the Supreme Court has said, you know what, we're going to stay that decision to force Texas to draw and see if they can figure this out on their own. And Justice Gorsuch was the deciding vote in this, voting with the majority. Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan would have denied the stay.
I think that I just feel bad for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She wants to retire at this point.
But if she dies, we die.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, the poor lady can't even retire. Like, I'm sure she's just like, you know what? I'm ready to just lay this down.
She's probably feeling like Seeley right now. I was tired.
I can only she's just.
She's what, 107?
Probably. She's ready. She's more than ready. And now
Bless
she's
her
like,
heart.
with this fool in here, she got to take her vitamins every day. I mean, so it's kind of.
I can just see her every morning getting up with the Eye of the Tiger song going on, just ready to fight you, bad old white men
with the pen. I mean, so it's kind of like, I know she's taking that ginseng or whatever, whatever, ginkgo biloba.
Yeah.
So either way, we knew what was going to happen. First of all, the minute that Texas was no longer under the Department of Justice for submitting any plans to them in order to, approve redistricting, we knew all hell was going to break loose. We knew the minute that they were no longer under the purview of the Department of Justice, if they had to redraw any districting based on gerrymandering or voter disenfranchisement, we knew that Texas was going to cut up and act a fool and show its entire Lone Star to the entire world. So it's kind of like, I'm not surprised. I mean, we did have that small win last week, but this week now we have a little loss, and I really don't enjoy this Gorsuch man, this whomever he wants to be. I mean, it's just I can't say anything good about these people right now. And I understand there must be a balance. There has to be a countervailing force to everything. But at the same time, when you think about it, when we're dealing with voter and voter registration, voter rights, voter anything, we know that disenfranchisement is so popular in this United States. Like, it's what everybody loves to do, that we have to look past at some point what the black letter says and looks to, and he likes to be as strict, like, this is what it says. And really just, you have to look at what is it doing in application. And
I'll tell you what,
I just
the
can't.
Texas governor and Texas legislators are running scared on this one, because Texas is already starting to become a purple state, leaning towards blue. And in this, all this does is push that forward, because every major city in Texas is a Democratic city.
Yes.
And you had this bullshit that
they're trying to cut out. They're trying to cut
what's
the base.
His name? Ted Cruz said about when he voted against helping the Sandy victims, and now people are up in arms. Bill Maher just made a comment about, well, why should we be helping Texas when Texas didn't want to fund anybody else? Well, you got to remember that Texas, there's a couple of people making the decisions for Texas, but Texas isn't this completely red state that has asinine views on social issues.
Well, we just all know that Ted Cruz is just a plain idiot. Like, we've all known that he's probably not the best representative for Texas at all, regardless of his conservative, Christian, whatever he want to be. He's not.
You see, he just got through liking a porn site on his Twitter.
Good, good.
Christians
because
like porn.
He's the same one that shut down the government. I mean, the man is just an idiot. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not surprised if this don't teach him that karma knows everybody's address. I don't understand what doesn't. I mean, thankfully, the Senate was smart enough to be like, look, regardless of what this man has done, these people deserve some help in Texas.
Well, gerrymandering is a real thing. It has served its purpose for the last several decades of making sure to keep minorities in check, whether they be brown, black, or, I hate to use that word, yellow minorities, because of the way gerrymandering works. As long as you can draw lines around populations to say, well, yeah, we know that this particular population is predominantly black. However, if we draw this line in just this way around them and split them in two, well, guess what? That one population of blacks
them.
Now splits in two, so we'll put half with this majority of whites and half with this other majority of whites, and now those blacks don't have the power that they would have had being their own particular district.
Yes.
And that, in essence, is what gerrymandering does. It divides and rearranges how populations are looked at geographically.
It dilutes a voting base, basically.
But I want to move on and talk about what the Senate. Do you have something you want to say?
But before the Senate,
yes.
Let me tell you.
You had a look in your eye.
I do have one. That this portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are a part of our family. Dentistry can be scaring, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Batiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Ashandra Batiste at Elite Dental Wellness at 713-789-8680.
All right, now. Well, the Senate... the U.S. Senate Appropriations Committee just unanimously approved a $51.35 billion funding on last Thursday, to fund the state state and foreign appropriations, including $10 million to help fund the UN agency that oversees the Paris Climate Agreement. If you guys remember that this Paris Climate Agreement is the same climate agreement that back in June, the president said, you know what? I don't like this deal. It's bad for America. So the U.S. will no longer be a part of this deal.
Every deal is what he would have done better.
The Senate said, yeah, you got another think coming to you if you think that's what's going to happen, and decided to allocate at least $10 million to fund that UN agency. According to experts, this climate issue is one of the foremost issues that pervades the global society. And you can see that evidence when all of the stuff that's happened within the last, 2 to 3 weeks around the world. You've got typhoons, you've got tsunamis, you've got 3 hurricanes in the Atlantic.
And
you've
quite
got
a few fires.
Mudslides.
Up in the Montana.
It's all over.
Like
I'm talking about not just America. I'm talking about everywhere.
Yes.
And many experts are touting that this is because of the climate change problems and global warming that we have.
No, it's not, because climate change is made up by the Chinese.
All right, them dastardly Chinese.
That's what my president said.
You with your climate.
I'm a climate denier.
Science fiction.
I'm kidding.
But to me, what this highlights is the power that, and it's been done before, the power that Congress has to circumvent the president if they need to. There's actually been a few times in history where Congress basically ran the country without the president by an overwhelming bipartisan majority, putting through certain edicts and certain legislature where the president had no say-so in it. This
Sounds
happened
good
with
to
Andrew
me.
Jackson. This happened in a number of different ways. And so I like what I see here, and I wish that there were enough Republicans that saw how damaging the Trump administration currently is said, you know what, we need to go across the aisle on
I
this.
think part of the problem is that you have a set of Americans making decisions for their grandchildren that are basically disastrous for them. I mean, they're turning and rolling back all these EPA guidelines. You're sitting here talking about, because you want to bring jobs, people with black lung yelling, I just want some more coal jobs. Are you serious? I mean, things that are destroying our environment, that the one they won't be alive for. And they're not seeing it that, that same grandchild that you love to pick up and hug and kiss every day is the same one that's going to be living in the earth that you are sitting here and setting up in the future if we don't try to preserve it. But of course, it's not that. It's about what right here, right now, and very, very, very short-sightedness.
Well, progress hurts sometimes, and it hurts because you're not prepared for it. When you've done something a certain way for 30 years, it's hard for you to be a part of the progress. It's gonna hurt somebody.
I mean, you gonna die. I mean,
you gonna die?
You gonna die? Like
words to live by. My stomach hurt. Well, you gonna die.
I mean,
Mama Alicia said it.
I think the point that I'm trying to make
what is your point?
You gonna die,
that
is the two inevitable things that will happen in your life. You were born and you will die. Like, that's it. Like, you can guarantee them two things.
Well, that's not true, because Enoch walked with God. Talk about it now.
Stop.
Anyway, and on that note, as you all know, you gonna die. It is time to die this program for the day.
I am not here for you today, but in my ever so eloquent manner that I do like to express myself sometimes, even though you gon' die, I wish that they would pay attention to the fact that the decisions that they're making now are having some very, very detrimental effects on the world that I'll be living in the future, the world that my future children may be living in, their future children may be living in. So it's kind of just like, we need to stop and actually just really stop a lot of this fear mongering, stop a lot of this rhetoric, and really do a self-assessment of America, where we want to go, what we want to do, and start making decisions that are based on our best interest, as you say, as a whole for society, rather than what's in our best interest at this moment that's going to keep these dollars coming in for my campaign. So
I have no argument with that. Whoop, there it is.
Thanks.
You gonna die. We gonna die. We gonna die together. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our time on Injustice on the Sphere TV. I'm your host, Brennan Dunn. You can reach me on Twitter at Legal Mind. That's mine with a Y because there's always a question to be asked and answered. Alicia?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Allie on Sphere, Brennan.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Make sure to tune in on Facebook on everything that you own. Make sure you tell your friends about us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next time.